Now, what is another benefit of connecting to the heart? The fourth benefit of connecting to the heart, and how does that apply to Elul and Rosh Hashanah? So the fourth benefit of connecting to the heart is that the whole purpose of our inner work at this time of the year, and especially on Rosh Hashanah, is all about crowning the king and accepting Hashem as our king, right? Because en melech belo am, there is no king without a nation. En melech belo am, there is no king without a nation. And so, if everything of Rosh Hashanah, our success on Rosh Hashanah, our success of being inscribed in the tree of good life, is all about crowning the king, as we know that the prayers of Rosh Hashanah, Hashem says, and the Gemara tells us in the Rosh Hashanah, right, we have the Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. It's all about crowning the king. Shetamlichuni alechem, that you shall accept me as your king upon you. And a king is only a king if the nation accepts that person as their king. It's very important for us to know that accepting one as our king, accepting Hashem as our king, needs to be done from the willingness of our heart. It's not something that is forced. It's something that is done from the willingness of our heart. Okay? So what does that mean? So that brings us to the next point here. The next point here is that we want to understand the difference between a king and a dictator. Okay, what's the difference between a king and a dictator? In Hebrew, the difference between a melech and a moshel. What's the difference between a melech and a moshel? A king and a dictator. So a king is someone who forces, moshel, a dictator, is someone who forces himself upon the subjects, right? Through fear of punishment or even promise of reward. And on the other hand, a king is someone who is willingly accepted by his subjects. So that's one difference. Another difference is that the aspect of being a dictator is within us, the experience of that within us, within consciousness, is that the dictator is the mind, the ego. It's the one who uses force. It's the one who uses the fear of punishment and the promise of reward. On the other hand, you have the heart. The heart is the king. They're actually, I believe it's in Sefer Yetzirah that says that the king within a person is the heart. So the heart is the king. And the king is all about willingly. The Zohar calls it Reuta de liba, the will, the desire of the heart, the willingness of the heart. Another difference between a dictator and a king is that a dictator is demanding within a person, the part within us that demands from ourselves, demands from others. If I want to get someone to do something, I need to demand from them. I need to figure out a strategy to get them to do my wish. That's a demand. And if they don't do it, I will either withhold some reward from them, withholding love or attention or whatever, or I will punish them in some way, revenge or whatnot. That's demanding. That's a demand. And that's what a dictator does. That's force. On the other hand, the king is all about the willingness of the heart. It's all about requesting. Requesting means that if you're willing to do this, then I accept. If not, then I am not wanting you to give me this or to do this for me if you're not willing this. I respect you and I respect your wishes and I respect your needs. And only if and when you are willing to do this, genuinely, sometimes people say that in a passive aggressive way, but when we're speaking about request versus demanding, we mean it genuinely. Only if and when you're actually willing to do this for me, because you can appreciate where I'm coming from. You can appreciate the needs that you will be fulfilling for me, and you have a joy, a genuine interest in fulfilling those needs. Only on that side, only under those conditions, am I requesting this from you. Okay? And so that's a king. You understand? Because that is someone that everybody accepts upon themselves with the willingness of their heart. Another difference between a conqueror, a dictator, and a king is that a dictator is someone who uses power over people, whereas a king uses power with people. Now, our success on Rosh Hashanah is dependent on the level of natural and loving willingness of accepting Hashem as our king. Because if we just feel that we're forcing ourselves out of fear, oh my gosh, I want a good new year, oh my gosh, what will be chas v'shalom if it doesn't go well, right? There's fear God forbid, if things don't go well in Rosh Hashanah, so I have to make sure that I get this right and I get this properly. So I have to accept Hashem as my king, and that's why I'm saying all these prayers and I'm standing for hours and hours, right? If a person comes from that energy, then they completely miss the point of this day, because the whole point of this day is shetamlichuni alechem. Tamlichuni is a king, not a moshel, not a dictator. And so that's the fourth benefit of connecting to the heart, is when we connect to the heart, we are able to connect to the experience of truly accepting Hashem as our king, accepting Hashem upon ourselves as our king from the willingness of our hearts and not from a place of forcing. Okay, so this will also, meaning that this will also influence our relationship with Hashem, and it will change our experience of Malchuyot, of Rosh Hashanah, which is the whole foundation of Rosh Hashanah. Everything else, the shofar and the zichronot, shofarot, is all in order to just emphasize the Malchuyot. So what is the fifth benefit of connecting to the heart? The fifth benefit of connecting to the heart is we want to get to a place of natural giving. And we touched upon this just now, but let's unpack that a little bit more. Natural giving. So when we connect to the heart, basically what that means is to live from the heart. One of the great benefits of living from the heart is that we create a different level of connection with others. And we connect with others differently. We create a different quality of connection with others. We create a different quality of connection with ourselves, a different quality of relationship with others, a different quality of relationship with ourselves, and a different quality of connection and relationship with Hashem. We create a quality of connection and relationship with others and with ourselves and with Hashem that allows for natural giving to take place. Okay? So imagine that. Imagine if you were able to connect with people on a heart level, that when you needed something from someone else, when you had a need that wasn't met, instead of what the mind usually does, let's figure out how can I get leverage over this other person, right? Who is it that I can ask for this favor? Who owes me one, right? That's leverage. Who owes me one that I can ask this favor from? I can ask them. I can ask them to do this for me. Who do I know feels indebted to me somehow, right? So it's all about transactional relationships, and when we think in those terms, finding the right strategy to get someone to do something for me, then I am in the head. I'm in the ego. I'm forcing again. But imagine if I didn't have to do that. Imagine if I could create the quality of relationships with people, the quality of connection with people, that when I requested something, they would see that as the greatest present in the world, because they would appreciate the joy in fulfilling the need that I currently have. Imagine that. That is what it means to create the quality of connection and relationship that allows for natural giving to take place. But that also applies to our relationship with ourselves, meaning that within each and every one of ourselves, there are many different parts. Okay. And this is also what a lot of people, they suffer from self-sabotage. Where does self-sabotage come from? On the one hand, I want to lose 10 pounds. On the other hand, I find myself nose deep in another tub of ice cream again and again and again. Where's that coming from? Well, there's a part of me that definitely wants to lose 10 pounds, wants to look better, feel better. And then there's another part of me that loves nothing more than getting to the bottom of that ice cream tub. Actually, it would rather be halfway than to be at the bottom. And these parts are in conflict with each other. And so whichever one wins, whichever one overpowers the other one, sounds like a war, right? Sounds like a war. There's a conflict. There's violence. And whichever one is strongest is able to overpower the other ones, and whichever one who has leverage over the other ones will win. And there are some self-help gurus that implement that method. You just have to get enough leverage over those other parts of yourself, the self-sabotaging parts of yourself. And if you get enough leverage, you'll be able to force yourself with discipline to get yourself to exercise, to get yourself to eat healthy, to get yourself to go to sleep earlier, to get yourself to wake up earlier, to get yourself to yada, 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 yada. Follow your whole, list, your to-do list. But the approach that we are presenting, the alternative approach, the approach of connecting through your heart, is that you're a king. The king is the heart. And what that means is that all the other parts accept willingly what your ultimate desire, what your ultimate intention is. That means that if I want to lose 10 pounds, and that's what I choose to do, I can have the part of me that likes that ice cream say, you know what, it's absolutely fine for me to have the ice cream only once a week, because I understand where you're coming from. I respect your values, your needs. your need to feel healthy, to feel good, to fit into your clothing, your need maybe for respect, self-respect, maybe for the approval of others, your need for love, your need for recognition, your need for acceptance, your need for belonging, your need for health, physical health, mental health, ease, flow. All of these could be options, different reasons, different needs that you would be fulfilling by aligning your habits with, your intention to be a certain weight, a certain size. And if all the different parts within you are in rapport with each other, feeling that we're all on the same team, then we can work synergistically as one for the ultimate intentions that I have. It won't be any conflict. And that's the difference of this is what happens when I move into the heart. One of the greatest hypnotherapists and psychiatrists and psychologists from the past century, his name was Milton H. Erickson. A lot of what is known today in hypnosis and hypnotherapy is from him. He was really a master of the art. He said that all of my patients are my patients because they are not in rapport with their subconscious mind. I'm going to repeat that. All of my patients are my patients because they are not in rapport with their subconscious mind. Meaning that when you learn to be in rapport with your subconscious mind, the entrance to the subconscious, by the way, is through the heart. And when you learn to be in rapport with your subconscious mind, all those different parts of yourself that you're not consciously aware of, that usually cause self-sabotage, but when you're in rapport with all those different unconscious parts of yourself, then, as Milton Erickson says, you don't need to go to the hypnotherapist. That's it. All your problems are solved. There's nothing lacking, because everything will work together synergistically as one team to make sure that those intentions are fulfilled, manifested for you in your life. In many ways, it seems to be that it works through cause and effect, but most of the time we'll see that it comes in the most unimaginable ways. Really, you can see the spiritual nature of these parts of our consciousness, how it's all connected. It's one with the divine. It has the divine within it. Hashem's presence dwells within our higher consciousness in much greater revealed ways. And so getting myself to do something, on the one hand, is when I'm working through the ego, through the mind. On the other hand, I feel a natural inner allowing to choose now what I wish to do. That's what it means to live from the heart. I feel a natural inner allowing to choose now to do what I wish to do that is aligned with my intentions. And so that's how this natural giving attitude, this natural giving quality, this characteristic of a high quality relationship, a high quality connection that allows for natural giving to take place. That's how it influences our relationship with ourselves, but it also influences our relationship with Hashem. How does it influence our relationship with Hashem? So first of all, let's understand the significance of what it means to have a relationship with Hashem that is coming from the heart. The Gemara tells us that Hashem wants nothing more than our heart. Rahmana libabai. Hashem wants our heart. A person can serve Hashem. There's actually a Gemara that says that tzaddikim the tzaddikim in certain generations that were huge in their Torah knowledge and in their Torah learning. And it was very, very rare for them and very hard for them to merit a miracle from Hashem. But the tzaddikim that came before them, generations before them, even though they didn't learn as much Torah and they didn't do so much work and putting so much effort in serving in the avoda, in the tefillot or in the Torah learning, but because they served Hashem with their heart, they would just open their mouth. And even before opening their mouth, Hashem would do for them a miracle and give them the rain that they needed, or give them whatever needs that they needed. Because Rahman Ali Babai, because Hashem wants the heart more than anything. What does that mean that he wants the heart? So we're going to learn that today, what it means to connect from the heart. Also, the Gemara tells us that when a person speaks from the heart, or a person prays from the heart, then those words that are expressed from the heart enter the heart, meaning the heavenly heart. And when you speak from your heart, your words are accepted by everyone, not just by people out there. When you connect to people and speak to people from the heart, we're going to speak about what that means from the heart. The heart doesn't mean necessarily with a lot of energy, with a lot of force. No, we're going to see that it's much deeper than that. A person can be absolutely silent and be speaking from the heart. A person can whisper and it's absolutely from the heart, completely from the heart. And so when a person prays, we want to learn how to pray from the heart, because